How's it going, people? I hope you're good. I've just picked up my camera and decided I'm going to start vlogging again. I haven't done a lot of it. I bought this camera a couple of months ago. I've used it twice, which isn't a great return on investment, but I want to start bringing you guys more chill behind the scenes vlog style content like this. It's what I enjoy watching on YouTube, and I think there's a certain level of value that you can get from this style of video that you can't get from the more professional videos I've been doing with Eddie in the background. So today's theme is going to be what things am I struggling with within this diet, what am I finding the toughest, and how am I overcoming them? How am I getting through those challenges? And hopefully you guys can take a lot from this video as well, because these are common things that a lot of people are going to experience. So I want to help you to prepare or get through those if you are dieting, especially if you're taking things to the extreme like I am at the moment. I'm getting ready for this shoot, so I'm going to crack on with a bit of my day. I'm probably going to film for the next couple of days and just squish this all into one video, but we'll see how it goes. I suppose I'll be back for point one. Just got some shots through from my photo shoot client, Rianne. She's looking awesome. She absolutely smashed this prep. I am currently taking on new clients, so I'll pop a link in the description below that will just take you through to an application form, so you can fill that in, and then we'll get in contact and just fire you all of the details that you need to know in order to get signed up. So point number one has to be food volume. I see people shoot themselves in the foot again and again when they're dieting by giving themselves a lot less food than they could be having in terms of the amount of calories that they're on. So I could give you two meal examples, both 500 calories. One could take up a whole plate and leave you feeling really full after, and another could just be a tiny handful of food. Here's an example of like a meal that I've been having quite often. So as a protein source, just lean cuts of meat, so chicken breast or turkey breast rather than thigh, lean cuts of fish as well. From a fat perspective, obviously it's important to still have fat in your diet, so going for higher volume fats. Olives are amazing, you can have so many of these for hardly any calories and fats at all. Things like avocado, but then veg is going to be one of your best friends. So I've been having salads quite a lot, so typically lettuce, cucumber, pepper, tomato, and just getting a nice big bowl of that, a little bit of sea salt on top, and then adding my protein and fat sources on top of that. I'll put a little overlay here of like the picture of the meal and then the calories and macronutrients as well, and you'll see I've got a whole bowl of food for very low amount of calories. So volume is one of your best friends when dieting. And then to add to that point, we've got other foods that are very high volume, very low calories that we can be utilising. So swapping out rice for cauliflower rice is a huge one. You can have a whole pack of this, 40 calories, 4 grams of carbs. It's insane. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't taste amazing, but mixed in with a nice sauce, mixed in with other veggies, you don't even notice it. Nice high volume. Potatoes, sweet potato, white potato. Again, one of the most satiating carb sources and high volume carb sources you can get. Fruit, so things like strawberries, watermelon, other things that again, you can get a large bang for your buck there for. If you're feeling snackish, if you've got a sweet tooth, you've probably seen these flying about on Instagram. This is the vanilla one, you can get the chocolate ones. They're from Aldi or Lidl. So tasty, I've been having those. I think they're 160 calories, 13 carb, 3 fat, 20 protein. So it's a high protein, low calorie snack. We'll get rid of that sweet tooth, that's perfect. Other snacks, popcorn, so this proper popcorn, that whole bag is 64 calories. So again, you've got a sweet tooth and you need to curb it rather than having something that's higher calorie like chocolate, etc. Just having something like that will help massively. Whilst we're here, other things to curb hunger. In the middle of meals, I'll usually sip on flavoured fizzy waters. So this is like a lemon and lime sparkling water. Coke, so Coke Zero, I've got the caffeine-free version, so usually I like to have that with like dinner before bed. Protein sources, using things like egg whites rather than whole eggs is a huge one. Making egg white omelettes, scrambled egg, etc. And then almost calorie-free jellies. So these are the 10 cal jellies. If you track them, they're not actually 10 calories. I don't know why they say they're 10 calories when they're not. I think they're like 2 or 3. So again, I'll have that as a little pudding in the evening or between meals if I am feeling a little bit peckish. And the last thing on that point, on the contrary to going for high volume foods, is trying to stay away from those very low volume, high calorie foods. So things like granola will be your worst friend in dieting. You can have a handful of this and it'll be 300-400 calories. So even swapping a granola for a nice cereal will be a massive calorie drop there. Yeah, staying away from those things that are not going to give you a lot of volume at all, such as granola. Right, point 2, in terms of just managing hunger, an easy tool we can use is a fasting period throughout the morning. Pushing that first meal back slightly later in the day in order to give you the same amount of calories across that 24-hour period, but just pushed into a smaller window, making it easier from a hunger perspective because we actually have some larger meals throughout that window. We've got less time between meals. So say for instance, if you're currently eating breakfast at 7 or 8, you could then push that first meal back to 10, 11, 12. I usually have my first meal around 11, 12. That then allows you to take those calories from breakfast, distribute those throughout the other 3 or 4 meals that you have throughout the day, have larger meals, and then space those meals out really evenly, a good 3 hours between. So yeah, another nice simple thing that we can be doing. I would recommend using it towards the back end of a diet rather than all the way through, because there is going to be benefit from having a protein serving, especially throughout the morning hours upon wake, in order to mitigate muscle protein breakdown. Obviously, it's not ideal from a muscle retention perspective, going hours and hours and hours without eating. However, a little bit of time throughout the morning isn't going to do you any harm at all. So yeah, give that a go, and hopefully that helps when you are next dieting. Right, so I'm about to head off to the gym. I've got a couple of hours of PT and then I've got a pool session, but I wanted to finish this last point off in terms of hunger. The harsh reality is you're always going to be hungry at points throughout a diet, no matter how many diet hacks or methods that you use to mitigate that. It's always going to be there at points. So one of the most foundational principles that you need to have in place is a strong mindset around why you're doing this and what your goal is, and just remind yourself of that in those moments, and remind yourself that if you are just riding that little bit of hunger through up until your next meal, you are getting closer to your goal by doing so. Just almost have a little bit of a positive relationship with the hunger when you are at the very back end, and that will help you massively.
24 hours in a day, what the fuck you gonna say? Pick a lane, man, you gotta choose one. It's what they used to tell me every day. Caught a few along the way, don't be afraid if you gotta lose one. I'm trying to take it higher, the boy is on fire. You preaching to the choir, you know that. Never been a liar, the boy is on fire. I'll take it to the wire, you know that. Reach back, had to grab me a hit. I'm on the clock, game time, it's like I'm drafting a pick. Like a genie, I could grant you a wish. I'm so drunk, I just might smoke something if they pass me the shit. I gotta slow down, plenty of it here to make it go around. They was going slow and so I drove around. Ain't no fucking question, course I hold it down. Course I hold it down. All I ever knew, this ain't no news. If you know Jerry, that's the way I am. Shut the door on me like when you signing out at AIM. I come back just to fuck them up, I promise I ain't playing, man. I do what I want and I'm the only one that say I can.
So that is session done. Nice little pool session in the books. And that brings me on to the second point of the video, and that is general energy, fatigue, and motivation to train. That gets tougher and tougher as you start to get towards the back end of a diet. Again, especially if you're taking it to the extreme. Body fat is low. If you're a natural athlete, your hormones are probably tanked. You've got more expenditure than ever, you've got less food than ever. So here's a few tips on how to work around that. So point 1, in terms of nutrition and managing that in order to keep your energy as high as possible and your training performance as high as possible, is taking a closer look at where you're actually placing your nutrients throughout the day, how you're timing those around training mainly. So carbohydrates are likely going to be lower as overall calories are going to be lower. Prioritizing placing those around your training window is likely going to be beneficial. So I will typically place carbohydrates, or the majority of carbohydrates, pre-training or around that training window, and then some pre-bed as well. And the timing there depends on what time of day you train. If you train fasted in the morning, then it's likely going to be beneficial for you to place your carbohydrates mainly pre-bed, so that you're almost then fueling your session within the morning, so you're not going in too depleted. But that's point 1, just keep a close eye on your nutrition and do everything possible to maximize your training performance and your energy around training. Point 2 is probably sleep. If you allow that that to tank and decrease in terms of the overall quality, but also quantity. That's going to be one of the biggest contributing factors to how you feel throughout the day and how you perform, how you recover from training there as well. So doing, again, everything in your power to make sure you are sleeping as best as possible right the way through the diet, and making sure that you're not placing caffeine close to bed, making sure you're actually taking time in the evening to relax, wind down, chill. Cutting off light exposure within the evening is a huge one there, and then trying to keep a fairly regular sleep routine in terms of the time you go to bed and the time you wake up. If you can keep that kind of regularity in terms of your circadian rhythm, that's going to be massively beneficial. Now, one thing that I'm going to do over the next week or so is a vlog on all of the supplementation I use as well. And part of that will be sleep supplementation, so I'll go into detail there, but a couple of easy ones that you can be adding in, things like adaptogens such as ashwagandha. I'm a big fan of the Strom Sports Support Max Neuro PM, which has a high dose ashwagandha, as well as things like liamine and phosphatidylserine, which will help to decrease cortisol within the evening there as well. Potentially even using melatonin if you are really struggling and you are in a high stressed environment. That's going to be beneficial, but yeah, as I said, I'll go through that all in detail within a future vlog, so keep an eye out for that. Thirdly, if you are training within the morning or early afternoon, we can utilise caffeine as a performance enhancer. It's probably one of the most researched performance enhancers out there. The only reason why I wouldn't use it is if you are training in the evening, because obviously with that point that I just made there in terms of sleep, we do not want to be loading coffee or pre-workouts prior to training. But making sure you are utilising caffeine to your advantage throughout a diet and not using too much too early, because we know that it does have a diminishing effect the more that we use it. Taking caffeine breaks as well, so I will regularly go every Sunday without any caffeine, so I usually have a Sunday as a caffeine-free day. That then allows me to use caffeine throughout the week and actually feel it, rather than just drinking a Monster every single morning or having a coffee or a pre-workout prior to every single session or on every single day. So yeah, use caffeine to your advantage, don't abuse it. So the last point, and something that I did a post about the other day, I think, is using training partners, using your mates, using people in the gym to just push you through sets, whether that be actually training with someone a full session or even just grabbing people on those hardest sets just to push you through. When you're on your own, it's easy to just let yourself off those last couple of reps, especially when you are very fatigued and very tired. Throughout the majority, most of you watching this love training, right? You love pushing yourself, which is fine, but when energy reserves are low, man, it gets tough. And I've definitely found that over the last few weeks, with food being very low, expenditure being very high, and motivation to train just dropping off a little bit, I'm going to be honest. But you'll see me training with the likes of Pat and Harry, two of my best mates. I'll be getting sessions in with like Cal and anyone I can get my hands on, basically. So yeah, that's the third or fourth final point. Diet brain's digging in now. I can't think or speak for shit. But yeah, we'll call it point 4. Finished up an afternoon of PT, probably one of the hardest afternoons I've had. You can probably tell by how I can't speak right now. Energy is very, very low this afternoon. I think PT days are probably the toughest for me because obviously they're physically demanding as well as mentally demanding. Online coaching days, sat on a laptop, a little bit easier. But I have just finished work now. I've jumped on the treadmill to get my last 5k steps in. One question I keep getting asked is, how would you find the time? How would you find the time to do 15k steps a day? How would you find the time to do an hour of cardio a day? How would you find the time to do training and meal prep and everything else on top of your full-time work? So I'm not sure what the audio is like right now, but when I'm walking home, I'll go through a few things that help me work around fitting in all of the extra work that a prep takes around just normal life. All right, that is steps done, 15k ticked off. I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up, but the sky is gorgeous at the moment. I'm going to take a seat here before I start walking home and chat through this last point, time. Obviously, when we're going through a prep, you're going to need to be doing more steps. You're going to need to be finding time to do cardio, likely. You're going to need to continue to get your training in. You're going to need to make sure that you are actually sticking to your nutrition via being prepared with meals, etc. This can be a tough one, especially if a lot is demanded of you. So I think the first thing that I would do, even before starting a diet, is looking at your daily routine. Worst case scenario, what is the absolute max that I could do? What pockets of time am I not utilising, and how could I utilise them better? Could I be getting to bed a little bit earlier so I can get up earlier and actually get some cardio done before I go to work? Could I be utilising the little 10-minute breaks that I have at work to be getting outside and getting some steps done? Could I be, rather than kind of starting to watch Netflix at, let's say, 7 p.m. in the evening, I'm going to spend 7 till 7:30 prepping my meals for the next day, and then I'm going to start sitting down and winding down. And essentially, it's a case of making the time, and a lot of the time people have more time than they think. If you were to break it down, write down everything you do on paper, we waste a lot of time on our day, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be chilling. That's a very, very important part of dieting itself, but ultimately the goal is to get the work done however possible whilst looking after yourself, still recovering. In terms of what I'm doing at the moment, I'll get up a little bit earlier than I usually do, so I'll get up at 6:30 at the moment. I'll get my 40 minutes of cardio done, I'll have a shower, I'll then start work at about 8:30, 9, which is a fairly normal time to start work. I will then take little 10-15 minute breaks in the day to go out, get a walk done, get my steps in, and then if I'm PTing in the day, I will jump on the treadmill in between clients or after clients and just get more steps done there as well. And then obviously now I'm going to get home, I'm going to do cardio. It's now about 9 p.m, which isn't ideal, but I'm going to do it. That's just what it takes when you are doing something like I'm doing in terms of just really pushing myself for condition. If you are someone watching this that's doing a show or a photo shoot, just get it done. It's probably the most rewarding thing that you could ever do, taking yourself to that extreme. So I hope that, as always, the video is valuable, entertaining, and you took something away from this. And I'm just going to wrap it up there. So as always, do that YouTuber stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.